So today I want to talk to you about the origin of angelic happiness, and something that can bring each of us greater happiness as well. And this is the 6th habit in our series on 7 habits for spiritual life. So are you interested in that? Find you to be happier? Is that something that you would say, sign me up for that? I'm interested. I would hope so. A friend of mine likes to say that we start where we stand, which means wherever we are, that's where we begin. And so today I just want to ask you, how are you right now? Are you able to think about that without thinking about what happened prior to this moment or what's going to happen later? You think about, how am I now? Are you happy? Are you comfortable? Peaceful? Anxious? Worried? Stressed? We get that question asked of us often, don't we? How are you? In our culture, we can kind of punt that off and say, I'm good. Well, whatever you want to say, and not really give an answer. It's sort of a greeting now. How are you? How are you? Right? But if we go further than answering, I'm fine or good or I'm busy, it's often about how things have gone. Like I ask you how you are, you might say, well, I didn't get any sleep last night, or I was late, and so I was a little anxious, or the kids were crazy this morning, or you're worried about what's coming up next. Like I'm going to the dentist tomorrow, like I think about that, but I'm actually excited to go to the dentist. That's good. Things about what we have to do rather than what we might get to do. But how are you now, in this moment? This moment now, how are you? And we can worry about all kinds of things that might happen, or regret all kinds of things that have happened in our life. But again, right now, are you okay? The past and the future don't matter. Can't do anything about it. Here we are now. That doesn't mean that you didn't show up with current worries, current anxieties, or current joys and delights in your life, but can we focus on the moment and stay in that moment? And admittedly, as a preacher, I can experience a lot of worry about church coming up, like how will church go? Will anyone show up? Who will be there? Is this a useful topic? Et cetera, et cetera. But the goal for me is to be present now with all of you and feel blessed that I have this opportunity to share a message from the Lord's Word, which maybe has an opportunity to bring peace or hope, joy or comfort. And try to remember for myself that the Lord is the one who teaches. There's a beautiful teaching that says, when the Word is read, the Lord comes in and teaches. I love that. It takes all the pressure off me. As long as we read the Word during the service, the Lord comes in and teaches. But you think about it, today is a Sabbath day. It's a day of rest, a day to refresh our spirit, refresh our bodies, and to center on spiritual things. I think that we need a time like this in our week. We need a time to get centered, a time to quiet our minds, to quiet the troubles that are around us, because life has plenty of challenges, absolutely. But we need the Sabbath so we can be present and feel peace and then head out and live our lives. Because when we walk out the door, our challenges will continue. We'll have troubles, we'll have worries, we'll have burdens. We'll have fun things too, rewarding things that we get to enjoy. But know that you're not alone. The Lord is with you. You matter. The Lord created you, and He's with you wherever you go. Psalm 139 reminds us, he says, where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. You ever really paid attention to that last part of the phrase, that your hand shall lead me, your right hand shall hold me? It's a beautiful picture of the Lord being so present with each one of us. But how often do we live our lives somewhere else than where we actually are? Or ingesting things, whether we're watching something or actually taking something into our bodies, to transport us to a different reality than the one that we're in. Escaping into media is a very popular way to do that, of course. And we can use the phrase, I wish I wish it was another season. It's winter. I wish it was spring. I wish I was out of college. Or I wish I had a different job. I wish I was married. I wish I was single. I wish I was out of my parents' house. I wish I was retired. I wish I was still working. I wish I had a better job. I wish I had more money. And so it goes, right? So we have all these expectations rather than experiencing the blessing of the moment because we're focused on a particular outcome rather than what it is we actually are experiencing. So we're thinking that we should be somewhere we are not. So maybe if we were supposed to be somewhere else or be doing something else, we would be. So maybe we're exactly where we need to be. The question to ask ourselves in any particular moment is, what can I gain from this moment, from this season of my life? We opened the word and said the phrase, "This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." I think this is a good mantra if you need one. Just anytime say, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." This moment the Lord made, and he made me for this moment. Many people love the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. One thing I notice about that psalm is that it uses the present tense for a lot of it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still water. There's a little bit about the future in two spots, which is, I will fear no evil. But why? Because the Lord is present with me. And surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. Why? Because the Lord is present with me. But I also love that the psalm begins by saying, thinking about the Lord as somewhere, like talking about the Lord objectively, like, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. So it changes from the Lord being sort of something I'm talking about to someone I'm with. You're with me. It changes, and I think that's because of that ability to focus on the present moment. And that's what the trust that we gain that comes from living in the moment. Now, I will say there will be hard things in life. You know that. I know that. There are valleys of shadow and there are enemies, but the Lord is with us. The Lord says, I am with you. So if we're not happy, maybe we're showing up in life, but the real us is somewhere else. Any of us, if you're still raising kids or you're playing with your kids, but you're thinking about something else, or checking your face, pretending. It's interesting going to playgrounds now and seeing how many kids are running around and parents are just over there. It's like, hopefully someone's watching what they're doing. But we're at work, but we're thinking about being on vacation, or on vacation thinking about work. We're spending time alone, wishing we were with other people, or we're with other people, wishing I was alone. Or I'm eating a salad and wishing I was eating a hamburger, or whatever it is. We spend our lives chasing something rather than experiencing where we are, and we miss so much because of that. It's like scrolling through our phone and missing what's really happening around us. We can be so focused on what we want that we miss what we actually do have. And I will say there'll be plenty of time, there's always plenty of work to do. There are also plenty of challenges to take on. There's plenty of problems to solve. Those things won't go away, but when you're with your family, when you're with your friends, give them your time. Be present. Give them your attention. Life goes fast. Look at your little children today, they're wonderful. Soon they'll be older and they'll be like maybe wishing they were younger or smaller. Well, they'll be off in college, and so enjoy it while it's happening. Soon you'll be old and wishing you were young. Or if you're old, enjoy the perspective you have from the experience of life. People like to sort of think it's a bad thing that someone's old. I say, well, they have a lot of experience. That's an awesome thing. It's a great thing to have so much experience. So we don't want to knock it down as a bad thing, but we can do that often. But what is this life about? Life is about a preparation, so the journey of this life does matter. I saw pictures of that to me epitomize this issue where there's a crowd of people experiencing something amazing, and every one of them has a phone out recording it, taking a picture of it, instead of just pay attention to what you're experiencing. You're not going to go look at that video later. You know you're not going to. So just experience what it is. There's a beautiful cartoon of a crowd with all these, everyone's got a phone, except there's one person who's an older woman who's just smiling and enjoying it. It's like, bingo, that's the thing. Just experience what it is. Just take it in. Author Mirko Tum says it this way. She says, the present moment is the only thing where there is no time. It is the point between the past and the future. It is always there, and it is the only point we can access in time. Everything that happens, happens in the present moment. Everything that ever happened and will ever happen can only happen in the present moment. It is impossible for anything to exist outside of the present moment. As they say, the moment is a gift. That's why they call it a present, or the present. Something to enjoy. So here and now. Now, I will say that it is good at times to think about the past and the future, in that we might learn from them or prepare for the future, anticipate good things, for example, but we shouldn't dwell there. Hopefully you got the message from the blocks here. It's like, yeah, you can sample it, you can think about it, but don't spend too much time there. It causes burden and stress. The Lord gives us this beautiful story of the children of Israel wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. And one of the things that they had to do, they had to focus on the present moment. They would get manna each day. It would just magically appear in the morning, and they would gather it together, and it would be enough to sustain them for that day. They couldn't store it up for the next day except before the Sabbath. They had to take it there. If they took it, it would breed worms and stink. They couldn't have it the next day. They couldn't go back and obviously get it from the day before. The Lord forced them to think about that moment. The Lord's Prayer, which we say, give us this day our daily bread. It's about today. It's about today's needs. So the Lord says this in the New Testament, don't worry about your life, what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, what you're going to wear. Consider the birds of the air and the lilies of the field. Even Solomon. So King Solomon had, in today's standards, billions of dollars. He had everything you could imagine if you were into that kind of fantasy, right? He had 700 wives and 400 concubines, which is horrifying. But some people might think, oh, that's a wonderful thing. I think not. He had all this wealth. People would come to him. He had wisdom and so forth. But even Solomon in all his glory could not dress up as beautiful as a flower, is what the Lord's saying. And birds are given what they need each day. Notice this passage that we read. It said from Secrets of or Spiritual Diary, it says, conjecture about things to come and the memory of things past are what take away all the pleasantness of life and happiness. They cause worry, cares, and anxiety. I like that word that's used, conjecture about things to come. Because really that's what we're doing. We're sort of imagining and trying to say what's going to happen when we really don't know. And another passage says, the more interior and perfect angels are, the less do they care about things of the past or think about those of the future, and that this is the origin of their happiness. That is the origin. The source of their happiness is just living in the moment. And what it says further is that the Lord provides them in every moment what to think and makes them peaceful and happy. So one of the things that we can focus on too is things that we love. When we love something, when we're in a state of love, time seems to fly. Think about Jacob when he fell in love with Rachel, and he worked 7 years to get her as his wife, and then he had to work 7 more years because he got Leah instead, so he had to work 14 years for Rachel. But it says, and they were in his eyes like a few days because of his love for her. And the writings say that this means a state of love, that is to say, a state without any tedium. It says, when anyone enters a state of love or heavenly affection, they enter an angelic state. That is to say, it is as though time does not exist, provided that that affection holds no urge for change. So when we're doing something we love, it's like there's no time. When we think about things what we love, focusing on things that we care about rather than things that stress us out, life seems to go more quickly, as it were, in a good way. And notice it says if we have an urge for change, it takes us out of that state. And notice about the focus here. It says, indeed, it is reflecting on those things which are not the objects of one's affection or love, and so on things that are tedious that gives rise to an apparent sense of time. So a lot of it has to do with what do we focus on? What do we pay attention to? Does anyone here find driving to be stressful at all? Have you had experience of being stressed when you drive? Yeah. Why is that? Well, we worry about the future when we're driving because I'm going to be late. Well, you're not late yet. You're not late until you're late. But we spend, let's say takes 20 minutes to get to church and you have 15 minutes to get there. How much time do we spend worrying about it being late? All the time. Instead of, for 15 minutes, I don't have to worry about this. Now it's 10:30. Now I'm going to worry about it. You can cut it down just like that. Or we can worry that it was so bad, traffic was so bad yesterday. It's going to be horrible. And we ruin the moment. Think about a married couple, for example. Instead of seeing that maybe they're struggling, instead of seeing that right now we're actually having a happy moment. Instead, we might think, David never does the dishes or always leaves his stuff lying around or whatever complaint you might come up with in your mind, instead of experiencing the moment right now and say, this is a good moment. I like this. Right now is okay. Or you can project into the future that they're never going to do what I asked them to do or whatever. They're going to spend more money than I want them to spend. Or if right now is okay, enjoy that moment that's right now. I would say that keeping a list of someone's wrongs is not living in the present moment. We have to learn to let things go. This is a new day. It's a new day for them as well. Did they grow and change? Do we believe in redemption? Do we believe that people can change? Or do you believe that the past will always be the future because that's what happened before? Now again, there's nothing wrong with looking forward and enjoying memories of the past. The problem is the negative emotions that tend to be the things that we focus on, because that's one of the tricks that the hells use. They like to pull up the things that have happened in the past, put them right in our present moment and try to ruin that moment for us. We aren't trying to do it, but they are, or make us anxious about the future. So we live in a story world. We tell ourselves stories about the bad things that have happened or the bad things that will happen, and we bring them into the present moment and worry about what's next. Have you noticed that you don't tend to worry about a situation when you're in it? We may have pain in that situation. It may be difficult in that moment, but we're not really in a state of worry. Sometimes the present moment is sad or lonely or tragic, but it's truly the only moment that we have. This is where life is happening right now in front of us. As we're taught, peace has confidence in the Lord. Trust in the Lord that the Lord is there. So how do we build that trust? We're told that if we go to the Lord, learn the truths of his word and live by them, that builds our faith, that builds our confidence in him. That's why I keep bugging you to pray to the Lord, read his word, try to live by those things. That's what builds that trust, that confidence. I'm going to read this passage. It says, it should be recognized that divine providence is overall, that is present within the smallest details of all. Let me pause for a moment and highlight that, because I think we tend to think, we cherry pick about divine providence, say, well, divine providence or the Lord is in that situation or in that situation because we happen to think it's a good situation. But it says the Lord, divine providence is over all and is present within the smallest details of all. And that people in the stream of providence are being carried along constantly towards happier things, whatever appearance the means may present. Those in the stream of providence are people who trust in the divine and ascribe everything to the divine. But those who are not in the stream of providence are people who trust in themselves alone and attribute everything to themselves. So what's the problem there? Putting it all on ourselves. Guess what? You and I both stink at managing the universe, so let the Lord do it. The Lord does a much better job than we ever can or will. So the Lord gives us advice: seek what is good and what is true, and then think the truth and do the good if you are able. That's what heavenly people do. Look for the truth, seek it out, seek what's good, and do it if possible. So the Lord actually tells us what our future is, so you can relax. You don't have to speculate about it. He says, I created you to be happy forever. That's a pretty good deal. We don't have to accept that deal, but that's the deal. So he's created that for that purpose. It's symbolized by the land flowing with milk and honey, the stream of providence. So the more we can get in that stream and cooperate with the Lord as our guide, the greater peace and joy and happiness we will find. The Lord says, do not fear, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. He says again, take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient for the day is the evil thereof. So our sixth habit is living in the present moment. Getting used to thinking about this moment right now is, the Lord is present, the Lord is with me, he's caring for me, the past is gone, the future is beyond my reach, so I can be here present in this moment. So when you feel overwhelmed, as we talked about with the kids, just take a breath. Notice where you are. You don't have to be anywhere else. Right now is enough in this moment. Amen. We bow our heads for a prayer.